Welcome to episode 2 of A Song Between. Today we're talking about how can the Bible say that everything is okay and everything will be okay when everything is clearly not okay. Hey friends, Pastor Gray Ewing here, and excited to welcome you today to episode 2 of a series that we're calling A Song Between. We're a church in the Central Phoenix area, and like almost all churches around the world, we are unable to gather in one physical place right now because of this virus that has swept over the whole world. And in our absence of being able to gather together, which is a central part of being a church, what we have decided to do is to encourage everyone in our church and anyone else that wants to follow along to camp out in one section of Scripture together. And the section of Scripture that we have chosen is the Songs of Ascents. That is Psalm 120 through 134. And so over the next 15 days, we're going to be focusing on those 15 Psalms. Why those Psalms? Those Psalms were the songs that God's people would sing as they were ascending to Jerusalem to worship together. They were on individual journeys and journeys with their families to get to the place of gathered worship, but were not able to worship yet. And yet, they had a common songbook, a common set of truths that they clung to, and that would get them from where they were to gathered worship. And we saw an opportunity there for us to do the same, for us to cling to the same truths, to sing the same songs. And so I'm excited that you're going to be following along with us. We have a Spotify playlist that we've put together. One of the people in our church put this playlist together. We'd love for you to follow along there too. It has 2 to 4 different versions of each of the Psalms that we'll be looking at. And there's all different kinds of genres, from indie music to classical music to composed pieces, just all kinds of stuff in there. And so you'll probably find at least a version of each of the songs that you like, that you could follow along with us. So please do join us there. Today is episode 2. We're going to be looking at Psalm 121, one of my favorite passages in all of Scripture, Psalm 121. What I'd like to do is begin with some silence, and we'll wait for a few minutes in silence for the Lord, and then I will read Psalm 121. Let's be silent before our King. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. I know as we read those words, the question that many people are going to have is, could this psalm possibly even be true? We read words like, the Lord will keep you from all evil. The Lord will keep me from all evil? Is that true? Isn't there a virus that's spreading across the world that is evil, and it's taking lives and it's disrupting things and destroying our economy? How is it that the Lord is keeping us from all evil? That's the question I want us to ask today. Another way to say it would be this: why does the Bible sometimes say or imply that everything is okay when everything is not okay? Why does it seem to say that the Lord is going to protect us from all these things when, in fact, it seems like He's letting us experience the hard things in life? I want to explore that question today through Psalm 121 because I think the Bible and Christianity has a unique approach to this question. A few years ago, I had my son in the swimming pool with me. We were on vacation, and he was swimming, and I was teaching him how to swim. He was just about 2 or 3 years old at the time. And he was swimming in the pool, and I told him, "Don't worry, I will protect you." He was shivering in my arms in the swimming pool, and I said, I will protect you. And then I asked him, do you know what protect means? And he said that he didn't. And I said, it means that I will never let anything bad happen to you. And immediately, whenever I said that, I felt my stomach drop out, and I knew that I just made a promise to my son that I couldn't possibly keep. How can I say to him, I will never let anything bad happen to you? Isn't this life virtually guaranteed to have bad things happen to him and to all of us? And what do we make of the scriptures when they say these promises to us that everything's going to be okay? Well, I think Psalm 121 is really unique and really helpful because on the one hand, it affirms that we are vulnerable and that bad things will happen to us. And on the other hand, it affirms that God is able to take care of us during that time. And the way that he takes care of us is the unique thing that I think Christianity tells us. So first we need to see this though. You are vulnerable, and the scriptures tell us that we have vulnerabilities, that we are in danger. That's the way the psalm begins. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Now, we don't know exactly what the psalmist is thinking, but probably what he was looking up to the hills, he sees the possible danger. The hills are a place where we see over and over again in Scripture that people are robbed. If you remember the story of the Good Samaritan, the person who was robbed and beat up and left for dead is attacked in the hills. The hills are a place of danger. There's a place of vulnerability. And so as the psalmist says, I lift up my eyes to the hills, he's asking, where does my help come from? I know that I need help. I know that I'm vulnerable. What are some of his vulnerabilities? Well, this passage talks a lot about sleep. The Lord does not slumber or sleep, it says, but we do. The implication is we sleep. And is there anything more vulnerable than the fact that half of our lives are spent with us being unconscious? We have to lay down every single day and submit to our vulnerabilities and say, for the next 5 to 9 hours, I'm going to be vulnerable and not have any control over what happens in my life. We have to sleep. We have to work. It says in verse 5, the Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. What is this idea of the sun striking us by day or the moon by night? I think what he's saying there is this. In your labors, when the sun is shining down on you, you're vulnerable. You have all these vulnerabilities when you work. And also, you have all these mental vulnerabilities. The moon shall not strike you by night. What does he mean by that? Well, just like in our day, we have this idea of lunacy. And the word lunacy comes from the word lunar, which means that we associate our emotions and our negative emotions and our insanity even with the movements of the moon. And so the same was true of them. He's saying the moon, the things that make you crazy, the things that make you work hard in life, the sun, and the things that make you crazy at night, the moon. These are vulnerabilities. We are vulnerable. The scriptures never promise us that we are not going to have danger in our lives. It doesn't promise us that the coronavirus is not going to come and take over our world. It has. It does. Because there is sin and brokenness in the world, there will always be vulnerabilities. The scriptures do not promise us that the stock market will recover. They don't promise us that everything will be nice and okay and we'll live in our castles and have beautiful families forever and ever. In fact, the scriptures promise us when you encounter suffering, not if, but when you encounter suffering and trials. This is the truth. But we are vulnerable. God is able. He is able. And that's what the psalm ultimately finds hope in. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, Yahweh, this God who has delivered his people, who made heaven and earth, the one who sees the end from the beginning. This is the God that we serve. He is able. Now, what are the ways that God is able to us when we are vulnerable? Well, first of all, we've already said it. He's awake. Even when we sleep, he is awake. He who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. He's awake. He's also on guard. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The word keep there means to guard. It means to stand over and protect. He guards us. And ultimately, He is able because He is with us. You're going out and you're coming in from this time forth and forevermore. God is with you. He guards you and He stays with you all the time. And so let's return again to this question. What does it mean that God will keep us from all evil? If it doesn't mean that He's not going to let negative things happen to us, in fact, the scriptures say that they will happen to us with certainty. It does not mean that we're not going to have suffering. It means rather two things: that we are not alone in our suffering, and that suffering will not have the victory. We are not alone. Our going out and our coming in, our coronavirus season is guarded by the Lord. He is with us. This did not surprise Him. He is here with us. And so in that sense, everything will be okay. He keeps us. He guards us. None of this happened outside of His control. He is with us, and it will not have the victory. He knows the end. He sees all. He's able to do what His purposes are. And so the way that Eugene Peterson, an author, describes this concept is this: if you think about our lives on a boat, we live in this boat together. There are going to be storms in life. There are going to be times when the wind and the waves beat against the ship. The scriptures promise that will happen. What do they also promise? No water will get inside. We will be tossed around. We will be beat up. Many of us may suffer. Some of us may die in our faith. But when you take the picture of all of eternity, no water gets into that ship because God is in complete control of this. He is our help. When we look to our vulnerabilities, we lift up our eyes to the hills, we can say, my help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth.